Good morning, America. We are following breaking news this morning, a fiery Final Four. Overnight celebrations turning into chaos, with fans flipping cars following Texas Tech's victory over Michigan State, as Virginia seals the deal over Auburn with a fantastic finish.
Destructive storms, nearly 40 million Americans at risk of severe weather from Texas to the Carolinas as destructive winds tear through Texas, leveling homes with hail the size of baseballs, pummeling towns. Who's at risk this morning?
Drawing a hard line at the border, President Trump accusing migrants of abusing the asylum system.
The asylum program is a scam.
Plus why he's thanking the president of Mexico.
Lion attack. The trainer who found himself in the claws of the king of the jungle as horrified spectators watched his serious injuries and what he's saying about the big cat this morning.
Secret agent man, Prince William's stint with Her Majesty's Secret Service, spending time at the home of 007. Could he be a real-life James Bond?
Live from ABC News in New York, this is Good Morning America.
Good morning, America. Let's get right to that overnight breaking news, the magic and mayhem at the Final Four.
Yeah, the good and the bad. The games were incredible. Texas Tech and University of Virginia now heading to the championship game. This is the first time either team has been to the final.
But, and you were alluding to this, the celebrations turned ugly. Look at this. Texas Tech fans flipping a car in Lubbock. ABC's Stephanie Ramos is right here with the story. Stephanie, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. Things got wild in Lubbock, Texas last night. Thousands of Texas Tech fans, as you just saw there, flooding the streets to celebrate the team's Final Four victory. Overnight, mayhem in the streets after last night's Final Four finishes. In Texas, fans flipping cars, setting fires, and even riding burning scooters as their beloved Texas Tech Red Raiders dance on to the finals. Texas Tech and Virginia both headed to the national championship for the first time in school history.
First ever national championship game appearance.
But one-seeded Virginia barely avoiding elimination against the Auburn Tigers. With a second to go, Virginia senior Kyle Guy drawing a late foul call to give his team a chance for the win with 3 foul shots.
I kind of had that feeling in your stomach, like a good nervousness, like, all right, this is my chance.
The senior knocking down all 3 free throws to put his Cavaliers ahead for good.
He got all 3.
You know, I do feel for Auburn, but I feel better for us right now.
This comes just a year after Virginia was the first 1 seed ever knocked out by a 16 seed. In the next game, NFL star Patrick Mahomes on hand to watch his alma mater, Texas Tech, take on perennial powerhouse Michigan State. And he had plenty to write home about. The Red Raiders beating the Spartans. Matt Mooney, the star of the game, leading Texas Tech with 22 points. His coach showing him some love after the game. Such a big moment for him. Texas Tech's Red Raiders have never won a national championship in men's basketball. Virginia is now going up against the Red Raiders and is also looking for its first men's basketball title Monday night. Guys, a very exciting night last night there. But even if you don't follow college basketball, it is so interesting to hear their personal stories, how these players got there, and just their journey.
Yeah, both of these teams have interesting stories for sure.
They do.
All right, thanks, Stephanie. Well, now to severe weather striking the south overnight. That storm system also bringing powerful wind gusts, heavy rain, and hail to several states. And the danger isn't over yet. The region is still facing a tornado threat this morning. Let's go right to Rob with the latest. Good morning, Rob.
Hey, good morning. The Red Raiders of Texas, no stranger to severe weather. We got a huge system, kind of a two-pronged area here. 60 damaging storm reports yesterday. And for Texas, especially South Texas, where we have a severe thunderstorm watch out, this is the 3rd wave of rough weather coming. Overnight, severe storms slamming the southern U.S., bringing destructive winds and huge hail. In Texas, just outside of Austin, extreme winds leaving behind a trail of damage. Homes and businesses flattened. This roof ripped off. Only one wall left standing. The storm dumping enough hail to pile up on the roads, making this highway nearly impassable. This driver stuck. others forced to pull over. The hailstorm so intense, it caused a thick layer of fog, making driving conditions even more dangerous. And in Alto, hail the size of baseballs. Severe flooding a problem across the region, too. More than 5 inches of rain falling in Taylor, Texas. And in Louisiana, an intense light show. Dramatic video showing cloud-to-ground lightning. A reminder of how dangerous storms like this can be as we head into the peak of severe weather season. And April and May, we can get severe storms nearly every day. And this, again, the 3rd day in a row where Texas is going to get it. Severe thunderstorm watch out just south of Austin, getting in through Corpus Christi and almost as far south as Brownsville. This is an upper-level system that's going to kind of make its way into a surface system. And look at that arc ahead of this low. What we expect to see is heavy rain, some gusty winds, slight chance of seeing a tornado or two, but I think the damaging winds and the big hail are going to be the main drivers of this. And Houston, as easy as that city floods, you can see how the future radar will be lit up. I think flooding is going to be an issue later on this afternoon and through tonight. And then it all progresses off towards the east across I-10 down the Gulf Coast. Also, that northern prong is going to get into the Ohio River Valley, so Louisville will get into it. And then tomorrow, the severe weather threat's going to get into the Carolinas. Charlotte and Raleigh, notably, more damaging winds, large hail, and potentially a brief tornado. So 3 days of rough weather for much of the southern U.S., more in just a little bit. Wet.
All right, Rob, thanks. We'll check back with you later in the show. Now to the intensifying effort to rescue a kidnapped American woman taken hostage at gunpoint while on safari. The FBI is now involved. ABC's senior foreign correspondent Ian Pannell is at the site of that abduction in Uganda with the very latest. Ian, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Whit. From Queen Elizabeth National Park. Looks pretty calm and peaceful right now, but we've seen lots of activity this morning. This is the location where the abduction took place last Tuesday evening. And since that time, we haven't seen anything of the American tourist or her guide. But that doesn't mean investigators aren't making progress. Overnight, U.S. officials telling ABC News that FBI negotiators are now actively involved in securing the release of an American tourist and her driver, kidnapped in Uganda. Sources saying there's progress in the negotiations to free them. The son of a Canadian couple who escaped the abduction speaking out, telling the Global News they're very lucky, but sometimes I wish they would vacation in safer places. 5 anxious days and investigators still haven't located Kimberly Sue Endicott and her tour guide, Jean-Paul Merengue Remezo.
The Ugandans are very professional in how they go about doing, these type of operations.
Endicott and Remezo were abducted Tuesday at gunpoint by 4 men dressed in military uniform in Queen Elizabeth National Park, the kidnappers demanding a $500,000 ransom. One of the theories is that the pair were smuggled across the border. And look how close it is. That is the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is Uganda. But for now, the focus of the investigation is on this side of the riverbank. A military helicopter now scouring the site along with police trying to find the pair. The Minister of Tourism assuring that the authorities involved are fully capable.
All I can confirm is everything is being done to secure the lives of these people, and we pray they will be rescued safe and they can return to their homeland.
And guys, I can tell you, I've seen a police chopper in the sky and we've seen vehicles with troops moving at high speed in and out of this gate behind me. We've also just learned that a military aircraft and 6 military helicopters landed at the local airstrip this morning. So perhaps we're one step closer to the release of the pair. Eva?
There's so many people praying for that, Ian. Thank you so much. Back here at home, President Trump doubling down on his comments that the asylum program is a scam, while also thanking Mexico's president. ABC's White House correspondent Tara Palmieri is at the White House with the latest. Good morning, Tara.
Good morning, Eva. President Trump has turned up the heat on his rhetoric as he struggles to deal with the surge of migrants at the border. And this weekend, at a Republican Jewish coalition event attended by the families of Holocaust survivors, he accused refugees from Central America of being scam artists. Overnight, President Trump accusing migrants of abusing the asylum system.
The asylum program is a scam. Some of the roughest people you've ever seen. People that look like they should be fighting for the UFC.
After sending this harsh warning to migrants,
our country is full. Can't come in.
At a Republican Jewish coalition event in Las Vegas, mocking refugees for appearing too tough to be persecuted.
I am very worried that I will be accosted If I was sent back home, no, he'll do the accosting. Asylum. Oh, give him asylum. He's afraid.
We should be talking about trying to fix a system that is broken and find solutions.
Just last week, President Trump threatened to seal off the border completely. The flow of goods already impacted by massive traffic delays. According to the AP, some truck drivers complaining of 12-hour wait times for a crossing that used to take 45 minutes.
I said I was going to close the border. It's gotten so bad. I said, we're closing the border. And as soon as I said that, and I really thank the president of Mexico, because they stepped up.
President Trump has said that Mexico has stepped up their policy at the border, but Mexico's immigration agency said that the policy hasn't changed. Dan?
Tara, thank you. Tara Palmieri at the White House this morning. A lot to talk about here, so let's bring in our chief anchor, George Stephanopoulos, who will be hosting This Week later this morning. George, good morning. Good to see you. So we know there's been a surge of migrants at the border. The president is right about that. But what the president is suggesting, that we're closed for business, nobody else is coming in, or that the asylum process is a scam, is that likely to fix anything?
Not the rhetoric alone. In fact, the president is struggling to come up with answers on this. You saw last week he said the border was going to be closed. He says, oh, no, Mexico has improved their policies. Of course, we know they didn't make any real changes. Either the reason he didn't end up closing the border was because of pressure here in the United States over what the economic impact would be. The president also wants to build that wall, and there has been some replacement fencing put in, but Congress is not going to fund the wall to the degree the president wants. He wants to keep this issue alive going into 2020, but I think he's been struggling to come up with actual solutions to the surge.
Well, when he calls the asylum program a scam, can he shut that down? Do you think he wants to shut that down, or is it just rhetoric?
I think it would be difficult to shut down the entire asylum program. Can you crack down on people who are illegitimately seeking asylum? Perhaps. But remember, most of these people coming from Central America are facing problems of crime at home, gangs, poverty.
Let's talk about another big issue in the news right now. On your show this morning, you're going to have a pair of Democrats from Congress who are on the vanguard of two efforts. One is to get the full Mueller report. The other is to get President Trump's tax returns. Let me just take them one at a time. On the tax returns, are they likely to be able to get those tax returns?
You know, this is pursuant to a 1924 law that came out of the Teapot Dome scandal and Warren Harding that is pretty clear. It says Congress, the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, the Tax Committee, has the power to request the tax returns of any American, and the IRS shall provide it. The word shall is right there, is about as clear as you can get. But you're seeing the White House and the president fight back very, very hard on this. They're saying that there has to be an underlying legitimate legislative purpose. Now, Congress is saying it's because they have to oversee how the audits are done of the president's tax returns. One thing you know for sure, I think the law is actually pretty clear on this, but you know this fight could take some time, and the courts could go all the way to the Supreme Court.
And let's talk about the Mueller report. So much attention around this. We've seen what the Attorney General's had to say about it, but we haven't seen the underlying report. Will we, and how much of it will we see?
That's the big question coming up. We know that the Attorney General Barr has said that by April 15th, he will release the redacted versions of the Mueller report, taking out grand jury information, taking out information that would harm other people's privacy rights, taking out intelligence information. I think once that is released, Congress will then have a decision. Do we want to go even further? Do we want to request the entire unredacted report? Do we want the underlying grand jury information? So far, Democrats signaling they don't want that information. I think we won't know for sure until we see what Barr releases.
This is another fight that could take time. George Stephanopoulos, thank you. You've reminded me to go read up on Teapot Dome and Warren Harding. I appreciate that. Make me feel smarter every time. I want to remind everybody, George has a big show this morning. As discussed, he's going to speak with two key Democrats in the House engaged in the push for both the Mueller report and the president's tax returns, plus a member of the president's legal team, Jay Sekulow, will be on to respond. That's all coming up on This Week right here on ABC. George, thanks again. Appreciate it. Whit, over to you.
All right, Dan, the FBI is now joining the investigation to find out if an arsonist is to blame for a series of suspicious church fires in Louisiana. Parishioners are heading to services this morning, with one community on high alert. ABC's Zachary Keish joining us with that story. Zachary, good morning.
Whit, good morning to you. There's a deep history at play when you talk about black churches being burned down in this country, specifically in the South. The tactics we are seeing deployed right now in Louisiana have long been used as a way to silence, threaten, and in some cases, even kill. Authorities say they're on high alert and have described the fires as a suspicious circumstance. rattled at the foundation of faith and family. This morning, a series of 3 fires in 10 days, all in St. Landry's Parish in Louisiana. They're being investigated as a possible arson by the FBI and ATF officials. These houses of worship are African-American Baptist churches. The most recent target, Mount Pleasant Baptist Church, where Deacon Ernest Hines has been a member for more than 40 years.
Talk about frustrating. You got a place of worship that you've been worshiping for 40 years, and then Sunday morning you don't have it no more for no reason.
Flames tore through the 100-year-old church, leaving it unrecognizable. And just days ago, the Greater Union Baptist Church was also destroyed in a fire. As federal and local investigators search for any clues, police have added overtime shifts as a protective measure.
What's done in the dark will come to the light.
The first incident on March 26th, an overnight fire at St. Mary's Baptist burned the structure to the ground.
At this point, we believe there is some relation, whether it's a single person, a single technique, a single method. We're not ready to speak to that yet, but obviously there is a relation to these 3 fires.
You know the history of our country. During the civil rights struggle, they had all these incidents that would happen, and sometimes that happens again.
Authorities are adding there's clearly something happening in this community. This is all about 30 miles outside of Lafayette, spread around that parish. As you guys know, we've covered a lot of this stuff. Hate crimes are up in this country. This is certainly an example of that, and just an attack, a threat on what we have typically deemed as safe spaces.
Yeah, it's horrifying and scary, and not the first time.
That's right. I mean, deep history related to this in that part of the country. Hopefully this stops and they find out who did it.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Zach.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Well, in other news here in New York City, a fan surprising WWE superstar Bret Hart last night at the Hall of Fame ceremony at Brooklyn's Barclays Center, jumping the barricade and attacking him at the podium. Security running in to subdue that man who was punching Hart even after he went down. Hart was being inducted for the 2nd time, this time as part of the Tag Team Hart Foundation. The attacker was removed from the ring and was taken into police custody. He now faces criminal charges.
A note from overseas now. In France, an explosion led to a devastating and fast-moving fire in a residential neighborhood. This was in Paris. The blast was all caught on camera. A massive fire ripped through the 4-story building. Fortunately, authorities say nobody got hurt or died. The cause of the fire under investigation right now.
So we got to check of our weather here at home. Let's check back in with Rob.
Good morning again, guys.
How are you?
We are monitoring the flooding across the Mississippi. It's that time of year, and it's getting down to the Quad Cities. So here's some video out of Iowa. This is Beddingdorf, where the river is 2 feet below record stage. So get the kayak out there and paddle around. Actually, military vehicles had to get out there, along with some lower profile vehicles to help some of the animals and the folks who had water surrounding their homes. We are looking at the river to continue to rise a little farther downstream from that, and then more rain coming in, at least today, for a good chunk of the country. Not just the south, but up around where those rivers are high, but from San Antonio to Austin, up through just south of Little Rock, getting into Nashville with these couple more rounds today and through tonight and tomorrow. We've got some rain that's going over some saturated ground, so we're looking for potentially flooding. 4 to 5 inches additional rainfall. Inside this warm sector of this system that is, for the most part, centered up towards the north. So the warm front comes towards the northeast, and as it does so, it brings in that warmer air, temperatures in the 70s, 10 to 15 degrees above average here today, and then getting towards the northeast. And want to look at that, 81 degrees in D.C. But backdoor cold front, 45 in Boston with that east wind. That is a stark difference in temperature. It happens in April. All right, it's time now for a look at your local forecast.
Hello and good morning, Washington. Another delightful day across the region. Just a great end to the weekend. Temperatures there on the cool side this morning, but they will get into the lower 70s this afternoon. Clouds will be on the increase. We'll have a warm frontal boundary bringing the chance for a few showers after sunset. I think between around 8 and 11 o'clock tonight. Could have a couple of waves. Very light activity. Lows back in the 50s to near 60 degrees early next week. Highs near 80 degrees. The chance for a few storms on Monday. Upper 70s Tuesday. Mid 60s Wednesday.
Dan Harris very familiar with the old April backdoor cold front, where it can go from 70 to 40 degrees in a hurry.
That's right.
Well, in Boston especially. I mean, yes, absolutely. Is that where you're driving at?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about for a good minute over there while you were doing, I don't know what.
Paying very close attention.
I was chatting with Eva.
Dan takes care of himself, though. He wears socks with his Tevas. So it's, a little bit of both.
Good luck. His wife would ever let that happen.
That's true.